welcome back, everyone, to Wichita Vice.
Yeah.
Guys. Straight from the Fortress of Solitude, it's the off-brand Superman, Marquez Christopher Eason.
Everett here.
And climbing straight out of the Bat Cave, it's your captain, Chris with a K. Wow, that was creepy.
Yeah, that was.
Well, this is your host, Carlos, and we are here where being a comic book nerd is okay.
Yes, finally.
This is home, everybody.
Encouraged, actually.
There you go.
Well, you guys, stay tuned on that. Let's go ahead and take a quick pause and thank our following sponsors.
Hey guys, why don't you check out She Barber Cuts Barbershop and give Markeisha Brown, the licensed professional barber there, a call at 316-218-3566 for all your haircut needs. She's got cuts for kids, adults, and for those looking for the good one, the deluxe with beard trims, wash, and hot towels. So don't forget to give Markeisha a call at She Barber Cuts and see her at 2319 North Ridge, Barber Suite 6A here in Wichita, Kansas.
It's been a while, guys, but we are finally here today. We're going to do DC today. And so, in the DC side, let's kick off with the villains. We've got today Goldface.
Nice.
Goldface, as also known as Keith Kenyon. He was created by Gardner Fox and Gil Gane and issued in Green Lantern Volume 2, issue number 38, back in 1965. So, Marquez, let's kick it off with Goldface. Tell me a little bit about him.
Well, he seems to be able to control monoatomic elements like gold. He has armor. He can manipulate it. A friend of mine, he usually calls him like a gold Magneto. That's actually
nice,
pretty
yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Because gold isn't magnetic, is it?
I don't think it is.
I don't think it is, and so that would be because Magneto wouldn't be able to do gold, so it makes sense. Well,
Yeah,
I mean, obviously the DC and Marvel, but
Yeah, mostly what I've seen from him was just from the Arrow show. I'm familiar with him to a degree. I mean, I've always liked the dynamic. I always thought his powers were original, but he's just, to me, like I was telling you guys, I think he's just a kind of a throwaway villain.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of feel like he's just kind of.
I know in the CW that's kind of what they used him for. Is just hey, we can't have him fight the big bad guy yet, and we need him to fight someone on this episode. So let's have which. I really liked that character. I thought it was just a really fun, light character which fit the Flash.
Yeah.
Fits that Flash motif on the CW. I just thought it was a fun, and he kind of has the heart of gold for Goldface. Because, he's a villain, but he's really just trying to impress his lady on there.
I could just say that his character in The Flash, he's portrayed by Damian Poitier. I hope I said his name right. But the actor does a great job portraying him. Yes, there's some elements on that show where he doesn't really follow the comic book. Because he's a scientist. We know that Goldface, he became Goldface by him being a scientist, messing with some things, and then he got hit with gold, and next thing you know it, he's all gold. So go figure, right?
Yeah.
Now, we know that he does have clashes with Green Lantern, I know Marquez is a big Green Lantern.
That's kind of his main
one of his top
rival,
villains.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, what happens again when Goldface and Green Lantern goes at it? What is his weakness, Green Lantern, when he's facing him?
Anything yellow, but that's the Lantern power of fear, and fear, it cancels out will. So they've changed that quite a bit over the years, guys. Honestly. That's more in the earlier DC continuity. His power ring wouldn't work on anything yellow. Now I think it actually has to be a yellow power ring that cancels out
like an actual yellow device or whatever that's made.
It can't just be the color yellow,
right?
Or something like that.
He has a problem with yellow.
And he was given the gold because what he actually radiated. Like a golden yellow light. That's, I think, originally that was that's what had the.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think I think he had the ability to access the atomic structure of gold and actually use it to. I think he could summon some kind of energy casting. I wasn't for sure exactly, but the gold thing, like I said, gold. I always want to call him Gold Member, but Goldface. Goldface, like I say, in the show, in The Flash, like with most street level villains, like you said, it is a kind of a lighthearted thing. I mean, he's funny. You love to laugh at him,
right?
Well,
you wind up liking the character. Like you're like, yeah, he's not so bad. I mean,
yeah, he's not.
Maybe get him on Suicide Squad, he'll be all right.
Yeah, because and you think about it, he's never really killed anyone in the show.
Right.
So he's not really that bad.
For all the gold diggers out there, this is your guy. He is your guy.
Yeah.
But, on the cartoon series, I was just telling these guys that there was a scene where the Legion of Doom, when they got together, they were having their little get-togethers, and what happened was Goldface was very adamant, like, hey, you know what? We need a little bit more respect, and he wasn't getting it from Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
So then he stood up and he goes, well, you know what? We deserve a prominent seat in this whole get together. And Lex Luthor told him, well, yeah, you can be my lieutenant. No problem. If you don't like it, we can figure that out. But he's a mad scientist. He's got street smarts in the show.
Yeah.
But in the comic books, he is a intellectual scientist. Mm-hmm. And also after he was donned on that power, he gave Green Lantern such a hard time. He gives him a hard time, and he's one of those top villains against him. I still like what's his arch rival? How you say his Sinestro?
Sinestro.
Yeah, Sinestro.
Thal Sinestro.
I rather have him as the main villain than Goldface, because Goldface, he's not really doing much. I mean, Sinestro equals up to Green Lantern, but for the sake of this villain, he's not bad.
No,
he's got my respect there. I kind of like the guy.
Yeah. Okay.
When he's come back, there's some crisis of middle of two Earths, or what was it called?
Yeah.
But he shows up a few times more recently too. But he's still like an underling, not a big thing. So
no, not yet. But they changed their characters quite a bit.
All right, you guys. Well, that concludes Goldface. Let's go ahead and move on over to the Dark Archer, as known as Merlin, as known as Malcolm Merlin, and also Arthur King. He's got a lot of aliases.
Yeah,
He was created by Dick Nillen, Neil Adams, and Mike Frederick. He had first appeared in Justice League of America issue 94 back in 1971. Chris, let's start off with you. Tell me a little bit about his powers.
Well, he is a skilled technician. He's an analyst, manipulator. He's really good at manipulating circumstances for himself. Great deceiver. He's very, very physical. He's not, I don't believe that he has any necessarily superpowers that are portrayed regularly. He's more just an master at various techniques. Yeah. Master archer. Thus made him such a rival with Green Arrow, who we're going to get to soon.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where he comes out of. But he was a master archer, super accurate, of course, expert hand-to-hand, martial artist. He was a swordsman and a marksman. I mean, he has all the, top powers that a, typical human can have. He was also Tommy Merlin's dad in the show. I think he is as well in a lot of the comic books. Tommy Merlin is often one of Green Arrow's childhood friends.
Yeah.
I believe that in most of them that their families still came up together kind of in Central City. No, Star City.
Yeah, Starling City. Yeah, Central City's Flash.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Get it right.
The gold face had me in the wrong space.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, so very equal in terms of skills and abilities to Green Arrow, as we'll get to see on his side. No necessarily superhuman skills, just peak human skills, which are all. That's one of the things I like about DC is you see a lot more of that. You see a lot more heroes and villains that are just peak humans, not I got dosed with this, I'm a meta. I mean, you do have that stuff as well, but I don't know. It's one of the reasons Green Arrow is one of my favorites. Is also, I think Merlin's really cool. I'm mostly familiar with him from the Arrow CW series where he plays Tommy Merlin's dad. Also, as we find out, spoiler alert, he's also Thea Queen's dad.
Yeah.
So how that happened.
Yeah, they go into that in the show.
Obviously, the Merlins and Queens were quite close at that time.
Yeah, I would go ahead and I just want to add, I really love the character, the Dark Archer, Malcolm Merlin in the show, Arrow. Yeah. He's actually one of my favorite characters to ever appear on that show. I mean, because he has such a presence and the, how most heroes their nemesis is similar in some way. to them.
Right.
I think that was just it was an awesome dynamic, and I think it kind of played out a little too soon in the show.
They could have stretched it more.
Yeah,
So,
you know what I mean? Eventually, you know, I think the whole connection with Thea and stuff like that kind of made it to where
I think there was some issues with that actress in the show as well
Yeah.
as Colton Haynes, who we'll get to soon. But I think that's why they couldn't play it out as much as they wanted to, because I thought that was a great storyline when he started training her. And, and then, you know, she's like hypnotized and doing the stuff.
yeah.
I don't know. Was he in the comic books? This is something I was curious about. Was he as much as part of the League of Assassins as he is in the CW show? Because in the CW, he obviously gets his immortalness.
He is part of the Legion of Assassins. Also, you may not know this, but he's in the back corner there. He's got a seat there in the Legion of Doom as well. He has affiliate, but he's the guy in the back. I mean, you don't see him. He's in that corner. He's probably next to Bizarro. I don't know.
You only have 900 million, Merlin. You can't sit with me.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the United Nations. You got to work your way through it. But no, indeed, no. I'm glad Marquez brought that, and he read my mind. One of the reasons why I do the Dark Archer, aka Merlin, the reason why I like him as a villain for Arrow, because he's the opposite to him.
Yeah.
And like I said, he and the actor that portrays him, John Barrowman, I was like, dude, this guy's, I mean, because he reminds me of evil Elon Musk. I mean, this guy, I mean, look, take Elon Musk and take that actor John Barrowman, put them together, dun, 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 they look almost the same. But indeed, his affiliations, especially when he's working with Ra's al Ghul, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
that's
great, awesome.
That's a great honor. Well, I'm just saying for the comic book purposes, it's an honor to be next to someone that the guy is. I mean, he can defeat you anytime. But as you can see through the show on the CW, there are times where he shows his human weaknesses like anybody else. He can't do certain things because there's something the elements of powers, like he's not gonna be able to beat up a Supergirl or go one-on-one with the Flash unless you use his ingenuity to get that done. But other than that, I mean, the guy is a skilled master hand-to-hand combat, as we've discussed. I mean, the guy he's well connected, and the thing is what gives him the bright side of him not being a villain but more of an anti-hero is for his love for his daughter on the show on the CW.
Thea Queen.
Mm-hmm. So
and his son, and I mean the city itself. Like that's one of the things, at least in the show. That's how the Green Arrow and Merlin come together, is that they actually do both want the same thing for the city. They just have very, very different ways of going about it. And thankfully, you know, as we see, you know, Oliver stops him and gets him to understand that this, you know, killing everybody isn't the best way to save everybody.
That's actually one of the, and that's one of the cool dynamics about the hero villain dynamic, their motivation. You know, what is the source of their willpower? I think they did that really well in the show Arrow. That was actually one of my favorite things that DC ever did cinematically.
The
Arrow show.
I agree. I was just telling Everett about that. He's now old enough. I'm like, dude, we need to go back and start watching.
Oh, you would love that.
I remember
Arrow is one of it's the best
in the comic book series, especially on Justice League. I just didn't like it that the Arrow was kind of like. He would just pop up once in a while, and I didn't like that. It was kind of like like the '90s X-Men when you didn't get to see Colossus a lot, or you didn't get to see Nightcrawler
shows up in a big fight,
or Beast,
or Iceman. You know, Beast was always either in jail or doing something.
He was just they never. I thought Beast was such an underrated character, but anyway, I'm sorry. It's off topic. But
overall, where we're looking at with Merlin, he is my favorite arch nemesis to Arrow. But I have to ask the $1 million question. Set aside, it's once and for all battle. If you just put them with the elements and all this. If it's Merlin and Arrow, this is do or die. This is it. Who would take it, Marquez?
Oh man, pre-Lazarus or post?
No, just keep it simple.
Okay,
just as is.
Like I say, your motivation, that plays a big role, you know. And since in the show they both were willing to kill, you know.
Oh yeah, at one point.
I'd have to give it up to experience, and Malcolm is a lot more experienced than Oliver, so probably Archer, Dark Archer.
I got to go with the heart of Arrow. He's He refuses. He's too stubborn. The queen in him's too stubborn. He refuses to die. I mean, we see it over and over. He's just refuses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna also take Queen with. He also spent time shipwrecked alone, so he could if it's do or die hunting for food, he can do it. Even though with Merlin having more experience, he got good at archery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that sounds good, but I'm gonna counter that. This is the guy that's worked with Ra's al Ghul. Ra's al Ghul can beat the both of them. So I'm going to take Merlin. I'm going to take that guy.
But didn't Oliver beat Ra's al Ghul?
Not the first time around.
No, not the first time. Yeah. So, and I guess that question was which Oliver and which Merlin.
Yeah.
Right.
So
because it's different.
it can go either way. So, all right. Well, that concludes the Dark Archer. You can follow him as well in the comic books, and also he is on the CW. So you can follow him there. Let's go ahead and take a quick pause and thank our following sponsors.
Razor Cut Information would like to thank you, Ernie Relas, at State Farm, located at 11330 East Central, Wichita, Kansas. Please visit Ernie to talk about your home, auto, life insurance needs. As they say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Thank you, Ernie.
All right, we're going to shift over to our heroes. Yeah. All right, we have the Red Arrow, as known as Roy Harper and Speedy. He was issued by More Fun Comics, issue number 73 back in 1941. He's an old school guy. He was created by Mort Weisinger and George Papp. And let's talk about him a little bit. Everett, I'm going to start this off with you. What kind of powers does he have?
He's like Green Arrow, Merlin. He has pretty much no powers but peak physical ability. In what I watched, the Young Justice, he's got he's pretty much the leader. Without them, Young Justice would pretty much not be beating most of the villains.
No, that's true. Right?
How about you, Marquez?
I like what they did with him in Young Justice, how he lost his arm and he had cybernetic upgrade.
Yeah, that was cool.
To where, and he really leaned into the name Arsenal, because he had an arsenal in his arm. That actually, I love seeing characters progress. Even though I'm someone who is obsessed with origin stories, I like to see how characters start and how they eventually end up. Just that growth period. That's where a lot of the story is. Like, one of the things that I hope they start doing in that show, Young Justice, is that usually when you take a character from the page and put them on the screen, they don't have the little thought balloon. They don't they don't internalize. They lose that ability. So
such a great part of the comics.
Yeah, that's always been. But I always felt like internally, Roy Harper had such a great story. Because he's the trauma. He lost his arm, and I'm just wondering what all could you do with that upgrade?
Why don't you ask the Winter Soldier? He can tell you.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be a good crossover match. Arsenal versus Winter Soldier.
Isn't Green Arrow's basically Hawkeye, but
whoa. There's a youngin' for you. Actually, I would say the opposite. Hawkeye is the Marvel's version of Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Because to our listeners, Green Arrow came out same time as Red Arrow, same year, preceded by a couple months, 1941.
Yeah.
And when did Hawkeye come out, everyone?
I believe he was in the 60s and 70s. Or
64.
70s.
Yeah.
64. So 23 years later, I think that qualifies as the runner-up.
Yeah.
not the leader.
This guy.
But back to Red Arrow real quick. Carlos was telling us before we got started here, because I know those of us that are familiar with the CW show saw Red Arrow was referred to as Speedy, but who was actually referred to as Speedy in that show was his sister Thea at first.
Yeah.
But in the comics, it was always the character of Red Arrow. He started off as Speedy, and then Carlos, how did you say that he got the new name?
What happened was he was in a covert mission with Green Lantern, and what happened was Green Lantern trying to slip up, and was calling him by his name, and didn't know what to come with it, so he just called him Red Arrow. It became Red Arrow, and then that's when he changed his name after to Arsenal.
Yeah,
he went to Arsenal. But in the show, tell me a little bit about the show real quick. He's portrayed by Arkansas native Colton Hayes.
Yeah.
So a lot of respect there, man. He does a great job as Red Arrow. Tell me more about him on the TV side.
Well, if you noticed his fighting style, he uses a lot of more parkour style fighting. That's one of the things I noticed very early on. In addition to the archery, he's very acrobatic. He's very nimble, you know. And I've always wondered, like, how would they make parkour into a fighting style? You know, and I guess he kind of answered that. Yeah, he kind of answered that. And it's just his style is a lot more dynamic. It's a little less brutal and straightforward. And like I say, I love how him and Thea kind of came together and stuff like that. I think it was back at about season 3 is when Thea and Roy started.
They started dating first, and then Roy kind of got in with. Well, I think actually Oliver and Roy met because Roy was doing some vigilante work.
Yeah.
Oliver kind of took him under his wing, and that's how Thea and Roy met. And then Thea gets trained and hypnotized by Malcolm. Yeah. And then eventually winds up taking the Red Arrow when Roy leaves for a short time. And then he comes back as Arsenal, I think, at that point. And she's still kind of Red Arrow, and then they leave together. But I really liked. I'm sure it caught some of the older fans of Green Arrow and stuff off guard when they made Thea Speedy.
Yeah,
because it was always Roy in the comic books.
That was his name. That was his nickname.
So maybe they originally were like, "Oh no, are they just going to make Thea the sidekick?" And then they're like, "Well, we can't. You know, she's got to do her thing, being Malcolm's daughter." Anyway, I like the connection. I like. They wrapped it up pretty nice and neat when the actors, I guess, decided they didn't want to be part of the series anymore and moved on. And would make occasional cameos and crossover events and things like that. It was always fun to see Roy come back and put it on again. And Thea may have done it once. I know she wasn't around too much there in the last couple seasons, but
go back a little bit to his upbringing in the comic book series. You know that his dad was a forest ranger and he was killed. And so when he was killed, Roy was rescued by a Navajo medicine chief. So he took him under his guidance and wing, trained him up, taught him how to be an archer. There you go. That's a good way to start it.
Get him started.
And so then later on, as he grew up, he idolized the Green Arrow. And so what happened was Oliver Queen took it under his tutelage and made him his guardian. So he pretty much, it's kind of like the Batman Robin kind of thing going on. And so then I want people to know this. DC went through a kind of a change in their style of comic books. And this was very gutsy what they did. As he was growing up, we know that you got Oliver Queen, which is a billionaire, and he becomes a billionaire too because of under that guardianship. But what happened was they tackled something that was really bad dealing with, and it was drug addiction. Yeah. And so in the comic books, especially, I mean, when I saw the comic book, I couldn't believe it. It was a Green Arrow and Green Lantern, and then you see Green Lantern walking in, watching Roy Harper trying to do some drugs. Yeah. And that would have been a good dare scenario. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, back then.
They brought it up a little bit in the show as well. Yes. Like that's one of the reasons, like that's one of the things that takes him out of the, like he just gets crazy in his head because he starts doing some drugs, I thought, in the series.
Yes. Yeah. And so he gets cleaned up and, he finds redemption there. But that just fascinated me that DC took that next step to say, hey, let's make a character that we can be able to have them to relate to, because I mean that's not something to joke around with. And, and that's why that's another reason why I have respect for Red Arrow, because he went through a lot to get to where he was, and especially during that time when we'll talk about him in a second, when Green Arrow went through his kind of rough patch, he had to step up the mantle, and I was glad that when he got in with the outlaw, they were called the Outlaws. Yeah, he formed that in his Red Hood. They become good friends, and so cool. Eventually, I mean, he's surrounded himself with the Teen Titans. Is he on the cartoon series, Everett?
Not the teen. He's with Young.
No, he's in it. He's in like the Teen Titan. He's in them like a few times. He's not actually like he makes cameos and helps them out some, but he's not an actual one of the five.
And I haven't seen the most recent season of the HBO show, but I don't think he's in that Titans either.
No,
but he is in Young Justice, which is interesting. Titans and Young Justice, they have one overlapping character, and it's Robin Hood. I thought. Robin, not Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Green Arrow again.
I was while we were talking, I was doing my research to find it. It was under the Green Lantern Volume 2, issue 80, number 85. And in the comic book, it shows Roy trying to. It's got it right there. He's got the needles, got the stuff there, and he's fully. And then Green Lantern's calling him out, and then it shows Green Arrow saying "Junkie."
Yeah,
Wow.
that was so 80s. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a Dare sponsored issue right
yeah.
there.
That and the word wino. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Junkie.
But indeed, that's. I'm glad that the CW. That's one of the reasons why I like Arrow a little bit more than the Flash,
It's a
because the
little grittier.
Arrow, it's got people with brains, it's got people that ingenuity, it's got people that's taking a rough patch of their lives of what they've gone through, and then you mix that all together, it makes it a dark, gritty show.
Yeah.
And that's why he's not fun and games. He's to the point, and we're going to talk about him in a second. But for Roy, when he's the Red Arrow, it's just kind of cool to say, okay, he's the other side. Now, I don't care for him too much that they treat him more like a Robin, because it shows Arrow being the Batman and he's kind of Robin. But no, I like Roy Harper, and shout outs to Colton Hayes. You are a phenomenal actor, and he's been doing a couple movies here and there. Hopefully, he'll get another big break in a movie later on. So
I know he released a book recently, I think earlier this year or the end of last year, that I believe had some really good reviews. That's just a kind of a personal, I don't want to say biography because he's not quite old enough for that, but kind of a personal memoir of his Hollywood life. So
Yeah.
anyway, worth a read if you're into it.
all right, well, this comes the last but not least, the Green Arrow.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Oliver Queen. He was issued back in More Fun Comics, issue number 73, back in 1941 as well, created by Mort Weisinger and George Papp. So his powers here, let's go ahead and kick it off. Everett, tell me a little bit about the powers that he has.
Again, back with like Red Arrow and Merlin, no powers but peak human state, amazing martial artist. He's got a bow and arrow that he can do enough things with, being again like Hawkeye with trick arrow, or Hawkeye being like him with all the trick
There you
arrows.
go.
Yeah.
So what kind of arrows does he have?
He's got the paintbrush arrow, the bola arrow, the handcuff arrow, boxing glove arrow, jellyfish arrow, dry ice arrow, fountain pen arrow, tumbleweed arrow, and then when things get too bad, why not bring out the atomic warhead arrow?
Oh, man, you sound excited. Well, you sound like a commercial, Everett. All right. Well, okay. Marquez, tell me a little bit more about him as well.
Okay, I love the play with him on the game Injustice. My son actually, he cheats with him endlessly on Injustice. I mean, he can do things with that character I didn't think the developers of that game intended you to do. But on a more serious note, so no, his archery is supposed to be second to none in the comic book and as well in the TV show. Also, he's played by Stephen Amell in the TV show. You know, his fighting style is it's more primal, more brutal, straightforward. Not a lot of flips. Not a lot of twirling.
Efficient maybe would be.
Yeah, I mean, he has to get it done. I mean, everything about him. Like I say, guys, I'm quite fond of what DC has done with the show Arrow. I mean, that actually really, it sort of reinvigorated me as a DC fan, honestly. I mean, they had to end it. I knew.
And it was sad, but yeah.
But yeah, it's like watching your best friend leave.
Yeah.
It was actually, yeah.
It kind of reminds me of an 80s song back for our old folks, that Paul Young, Every Time You Go Away. You know that song? Every time you go away. That's how I feel, Marquez, when you leave. I'm kidding. All right. Anyways, someone's in their feelings here.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Ollie Queen here. One thing I do admire about Green Arrow is he's respected by Batman. And Batman's my favorite DC character. Yeah. And the thing I like about Green Arrow, him and Batman, they're both millionaire. I mean, they're both rich.
Batman's richer.
Well, by a little bit. But here's the deal.
A few 70 billion.
But here's the deal here. Our Emerald Hero, he follows a strict code. And the thing is that In some of the comic books, he's serious. Another one, he's a smart aleck. Another one is the fact is that he, like you said it, he doesn't quit, he doesn't give up, and nothing impedes him. He may not have no powers, but that's one thing that the Hawkeye did so well with the Avengers. They took his skill that he had and he was able to blend in. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that maybe DC, hopefully one day, maybe James Gunn, if you're hearing the show, I'm giving you some pointers here. If you do like a Justice League United or Unlimited, whatever you do, and you pull everybody together,
gotta get Green
make
Arrow.
Make it to where Green Arrow is there. And if it's not
central character, keep going.
No. I'm just saying, like, if we're gonna use that character itself, make it to where he is able to have more of a presence. I do,
yes,
especially
definitely.
with the CW. Yes, that's great. Supergirl, and then Flash is there, and then that's all fine and dandy. But can you imagine maybe down the stretch if they do these projects to where let's just say that everyone starts over kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they bring that same gritty darkness. Have the Flash come in, then you got Supergirl, then you got Batman starting up, and everybody, and then they start kind of working in together. That would be amazing. I mean, they did a great job in the Earth Crisis. That was really good. But one thing about Green Arrow is even with that goofy hat that he had on, looked like a Robin Hood ripoff.
Yeah,
but
I think that's what they were going for.
Well,
back
yeah,
then.
they took the idea
I
from
think
an old series there, and they just made it into their comic book. But
Well, in Justice League, there's the cartoon. There's an episode that Batman, like, he keeps trying to get Green Arrow to be a member, and finally he breaks because he's not a member of Justice League. Finally, he breaks down, but the whole reason Batman wants him because he's the only other person Batman trusts. To run Justice League. He's like, all these other people are aliens, dude.
Yeah. Okay.
I need you to have my back.
And 70% of them are kind of idiots.
Yeah.
That's true. But the series, the CW series, changed, in my opinion, really the comic book TV show, the way Marvel changed the movies for comic books, with Iron Man and such, because it gave you, and now it was no longer the first two seasons of Arrow are not cheesy at all.
No,
they are
that
dark,
is serious,
gritty.
straight.
He's dealing with a lot of times real interpersonal relationship stuff, like family, friends, girlfriends, things like that.
Yeah.
And he's not like out there trying to make a name. He's trying to stay actually as hidden as possible.
Exactly.
And it for me as well, like you were saying, Marquez, like it reinvigorated my attention into it and made, like, I always thought Green Arrow was pretty neat. Like, yeah, he does some pretty cool things, but in that series, like, he became way more than just neat. Like, he became a foundational member, and because it was such a well done series, and he did so well, they made an entire run of spin-offs, an entire universe, just because it's called the Arrow universe.
Exactly.
It's not called the DCCW universe.
No.
It's called the Arrow universe and that's how much. And he trained the Flash.
Yeah.
And he's becomes the Guardian or whatever there in his last season.
All those cool characters that came from that Wild Dog, Black Canary, the Atom.
Well, and they almost spun off from his daughter. They almost spun off the Birds of Prey with her and the one canary that went to the future with the second canary.
I know what you're talking about from DC Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And just real quick, guys, I got to mention this. Like, we were talking about internalizing. Did you guys just enjoy the flashbacks?
Yes.
On Green Arrow, there was like you were watching two episodes in one.
When they'd flash back from the
island
on the new season, flashback to him being on the island in season 1 or something.
And that was that to me that no one has ever done that, not to that degree.
Well, and just the buildup of season 1 and 2, like, he's not the Green Arrow until maybe season 3 even.
Yeah.
At first he's the Hood.
Yeah.
Then he becomes the Arrow. And he's not picking any of these names.
No, they're all giving him that. Yeah.
I think until he picks Green Arrow.
Yeah.
But that whole first season, he's like just a dude trying to get his stuff back, basically.
Yeah.
Two things here. Do you remember on The Flash when this is just the shows here, it's not in the comic book, but remember when Cisco upgraded Arrow's suit to help him out with that was awesome.
Oh yeah, that
and
was
also,
so cool. Yeah.
Don't forget, for all the fans that watched that show back then, Smallville, he was also played by Justin Hartley as well. Don't forget about that.
I forgot about that. for just a season, or like they're right at the end, wasn't it?
No, well, he filled the role of Batman, pretty much.
Oh,
kind of. I mean, because he was the billionaire with all the money, hiding around at night and everything, and he had the Clark. He wasn't Superman yet,
right.
but he had his back. They were best friends and stuff like that. And this was back before, I think, DC was trying to do the expansive universe. They didn't have a shared universe at the time when Smallville was out. I mean, they would reference other places. I think Lex Luthor was one of the main people in it, and he went to the same boarding school as Bruce Wayne. But that's about as much of a shared universe as we got back then.
Sounds like a Lifehouse group get together. Can you picture them? One has the hair, the other one's. Did you see the guy in the background? He's Lex Luthor. He's just the bald one.
Yeah, that's such the great thing about the show. The Arrow is not only was it a great show, but it spawned this continuous universe that's still making series and episodes. And they're starting to get further away from that start, but it's still all part of the same universe, which I think that's what made Avengers and all that so good, is that we had this connection between all the different heroes all coming together, and we knew, that's Iron Man because it looks like Iron Man from the Iron Man movies. And, you know what I mean? Which we lost in DC's movies, but we have it in DC CW. There's Supergirl from the Supergirl and Flash from Flash.
And that leads me to this, guys. I feel for a moment we got to talk about James Gunn. Okay, guys, this is where I actually agree with him on. Is the fact that he claims that he wants to consolidate everything. He says that he doesn't agree with the notion that there should be 2 and 3 Flashes or 4 and 5 Supergirls or having
like from both TV and
he said he wants it to be like this huge cohesive unit,
almost like what Disney's done now with their TV shows and movie releases.
But because he said one of the things he did comment on in an interview with him a few months back, he said that it's too sprawled out and too disconnected. He said the tissue of it's like spread too thin, and it's confusing, and it gets a lot of people, like, I don't like using this term, but people that normies. This is what comic book nerds call people who don't watch comic book. But no, it's if you don't follow this stuff, it's confusing.
We don't like those guys, by the way.
No, we love everybody here.
That's right. I don't. But no, go ahead, Marquez. Go ahead.
Well, no. And that's, I mean, James Gunn, love him or hate him. I mean, I was kind of one of those guys that was disappointed when he canned Henry Cavill and Black Adam, Dwayne Johnson and all that. I kind of thought that you're throwing a lot of good things away. I felt like, it just, to just wipe the slate clean. Some of those elements worked.
Sure.
Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and I thoroughly enjoyed Black Adam. I mean, love it or hate it, So, like I say, I have to say, having Ezra Miller Flash and Grant Gustin Flash to people who aren't into this type of thing, that is confusing. And the fact that I have to give it to him, if this is his goal, if this is what he's actually trying to do, then I'm all for it.
I would love to see, because HBO runs all of DC stuff, so you can get way grittier, more mature TV shows.
Titans, yes.
Titans is so good.
I'm going to make this question for the both of you guys before we get back to Patrol. But I have to ask. No, I've been waiting for this. I'm kind of glad this is brought up. So I'm going to start this off with you because I know Marquez is passionate about this. I'm going to ask you the $1 million question. Is James Gunn, is he taking DC to the right? Now, I respect him what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, I'll give him that because he helped them put them on the map. I don't care how much of a comic book fan you are. Even I've watched Marvel. I've seen the comic. I didn't know who was the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, me neither.
And he put them on the forefront.
Really well.
Yeah.
So, great job. I mean, this is the guy that people, when they fired him, they were not going to. It was Dave Bautista. They're like, I ain't coming back. Bradley Cooper, I'm not coming back.
Are like, I'm not working unless he is.
No, we're going to come back. When they said, okay, he'll come back, we'll make the last one. All right, we're back. So with him taking over, Marquez already gave his thoughts, but I want to ask you: is James Gunn going to take the DC in the right direction?
I mean, we're not going to know until he does it. But I have a lot of faith in James Gunn. Everything he's done, to me, is really good. I loved Suicide Squad that he did, the Peacemaker series. For me, his humor is spot on for me. Like when he makes a joke in his movie, I roll laughing because it hits me right.
Yeah.
I love the way he uses music. I love the way he makes the people work together. There's always almost a family atmosphere once they kind of get together, like, riffing on each other, kind of punking each other a little bit, like getting on each other, but they're still. So I really, really like what James Gunn does. And to be fair, obviously what they've been doing isn't working. So he's, I mean, in the scheme of things, yes, there's been some good parts, but in the scheme of things, it's not working. It's disconnected. And so maybe he's going to go too far the other way. Sometimes you have that when you're like, well, this isn't working, so let's do the opposite. Well, we don't need to do the opposite. We need to go halfway to the opposite.
Yeah.
So let's turn this around real quick.
I have faith in him, though.
Let's turn this around back to Green Arrow. Let's turn this around. So let's say that he's trying to bring everybody in, Marquez.
Okay.
If a Green Arrow comes in, who would you put, let's just say a movie, and we got Green Arrow that's going to star. In your world of you got to pick, who would you pick for the Green Arrow, and who would you like maybe throw a directing name out there, like if he's common or not?
In general?
Just give me an actor for Green Arrow.
Zac Efron.
Okay, Zac Efron. And who would you want directing it? If you say James Cameron, you lost your mind. But okay.
Why not James Cameron? What's wrong
James
with
Cameron? Is that what you said?
I said James Cameron.
Quentin Tarantino.
Oh,
No.
Actually, that might be really good.
way too. That would be rated R.
No.
Kill Bill Green Arrow version.
No, I think if they're recasting Superman, Zac Efron would make a good Superman. Maybe Scott Eastwood as Superman and Zac Efron as Green Arrow, directed by James Gunn.
Okay, got it. How about you, Chris?
I want someone that's a little younger. I really like the way they did the show where they got into his time on give me the name of the island,
Lian Yu,
yeah.
North China Sea.
That's what one of the favorite things I loved about the series is they spent so much time that first season in there and just how he developed. And so I'd love to see something where they got back in there and have him start out as that post frat boy stage, and really get into he obviously was not a superhero when he left on the boat with his dad.
No, he was not.
And so that is such a drastic change from where he was to where he gets back 5 years later. That you can't skip. Like if you're doing a full on movie and you're basing this whole series, you've got to have that connection. I think that's what built the connection so deeply with the CW universe.
Yeah, that's what,
and his was the only character that did that. The Flash, the first episode, he's got his powers, he's going.
Yeah.
Supergirl, she shows up on Earth, she's going.
So here you go. Here we go. I do like your picks, Marquez, but if I was able to pick an actor for Green Arrow, believe it or not, I'm going to give it to Liam Hemsworth.
Oh,
Liam, not
Thor,
not
the
Chris,
brother,
right?
His
Yeah,
brother,
the younger
Liam
brother
Hemsworth.
from
Chris. It's Chris
Hunger
Hemsworth.
Games.
It's Chris, right?
Chris is Thor.
No, Liam.
Liam is.
I will take
the one
Liam
from Hunger Games.
And now, okay, so I would take him there, and I would do directing wise. I wish I could have Christopher Nolan, but that's probably too far fetched.
Yeah.
I would give it to the director of Aquaman, Justin Lin.
Oh.
I would give it to him because here's the deal. He took Aquaman, made it serious, made it funny. That works. Now, we know Oliver can have smart remarks here and there, but I don't want him to be a comedian. I don't need him to do that. The Archer that I want him all about business. I want him to be kind of like Punisher, but not too much Punisher.
Yeah.
But, I don't want him to come around, you have failed this city. Well, what else am I supposed to do? Don't throw it in my face. I'm the villain.
I feel like I could throw names out there, but it's probably got to be someone that's not.
And he's got to have the gold goatee. He's got to be.
He's got to be either. Yeah. Well, and actually, I was kind of thinking to be really. For one, I'd love to see the director that did Triple R. I don't know if you guys saw that Indian movie.
Yeah, I've seen it advertised on it.
Indian. If you haven't seen it, it's so worth the watch.
Okay,
it's essentially an Indian comic book movie.
Okay.
Like they're mythological superheroes. Like they're heroes of legend that have basically been brought into a more modern telling of their story. Such a great. I mean, it won Oscars this last year. It's on Netflix. Great movie. Triple R. But like a director like that coming in, because if you saw this movie, it's super high, it's so much fun. I cannot recommend it. It won Oscar.
How about the director, the one that won this year the best film, The one with Jamie Lee Curtis. The one, it was her.
Oh, yeah. They were brothers. Daniels, not brothers. They were two guys.
Oh, I thought you guys were going to say Halloween Ends. I'm like,
No,
that one-
it was,
Marquez, no.
everything.
No. How do you win the Academy Award for Halloween?
It was Everything Everywhere All at
Yes.
Once.
Oh,
That director. He won.
Yeah, that would be.
I just want somebody
he'd be a great-
that
he
can
needs to
be
get-
able, or the one that he's won multiple ones. He the one that got Birdman, the one that got Emma Stone her Academy Award. Remember the Birdman, the one with Michael Keaton?
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
remember
yeah.
who directed it. Though.
Yeah, I remember Birdman. I don't remember the director.
He's what I think
But-
he directed Gravity as well. I think he did the Sandra Bullock.
Okay, yeah.
But anyways, so here's the thing with Arrow. I think when we're going to wrap this up here with Arrow. Overall, Arrow is to me not really respected. I feel like, and don't get. I know we have Superman, Batman fan here.
Yeah.
Real quick, who's your favorite hero in the DC?
Flash.
Okay, Flash. Though us three, this triad here going on right here, we've been very spoiled with them. And the thing is, Green
Yeah.
Arrow,
Yeah.
we've got such a good show with CW, but I want him to come out of the light a little bit and let's get him his respect where it needs to be. Because Aquaman
yeah.
already
That
got
guy right
his.
there.
And okay.
Yeah.
Josh something.
Okay, Josh something. We'll figure-
Stradowski from The Wheel of Time. If anyone's seen that, it's a good
All
show.
right.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's where we're at. So you guys
Okay.
remember, before we go, we are going to do tickets giveaway for Fast 10 and also the Guardians of the Galaxy. So that's going to be the shows next up. And we will do a special edition when Flash comes up, the movie The Flash. We're going to give away tickets as well. So any shout-outs before we go?
Okay, guys. Too many to list here, but I love you all, my friends and family. And thank you guys backstage at the Vice or Razor Cut.
To my friends out there that I hope will watch this if I tell them, and to you guys for being nerds out here with me.
Yeah, I just want to give a big shout out to all my other tax preparer friends. It is tax day coming up shortly, so thanks guys for all your hard work. Hope you guys get a chance to listen to this. Thanks everyone for all their hard work on the show. Appreciate it, Carlos, Marquez, Eric, Everett. Thanks guys, and Powell off there in digital land. Thanks guys.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm going to have to summarize here. If I missed you guys, I'm sorry, but you know who you are, and, I got much love for you. So let's go ahead and say thank you to you guys as well, Marquez and Chris and Everett. Thank you for being on the show. Thanks, Eric, Powell, and Dalen on the scenes. You guys do a great job putting the show on the map. Much appreciated. I want to give a special shout out to Prairie Dog Comics here in my hometown, Wichita, Kansas. Thank you guys for helping me out. I finally got the Batman Adventures collected. I have all the first edition. And right now they've been helping me with collecting on the series. But I really thank you guys taking the time for helping me out with giving me guidance on the hero. So if you guys needed comic books, Prairie Dog Comics is where to be. Also, shout out to Keisha over there at She Cuts Barbers. Also, State Farm. Thank you, Ernie Rellis, for supporting us. I want to thank Gabby, Bravo, Luis, and the family there. Thank you guys for listening to the show. My boy Gutta, hope you're doing well in Oklahoma. And then let's go on over to the Wilds family. Thank you, the Carbajal family, Curry and family as well. And overall, thanks to everyone that reads and watches the comic books, because we're all in this together, you guys. That's why this show is made for anyone that we're into the comic book heroes. And if you're into your sports, we got sports, fellas. And if you need a movie review before you go, or you just want a different perspective, that's why we have Silver Cosmo movie reviews. We are going to bring back the Cutting Crew pretty soon, and also a new show that's going to start out it's a sneak peek. But if you're trying to you want to learn a little bit more about fly fishing, tune into our boy Eric here. We're going to do the full rollout announcement, how to start out, the things that you need if you ever want to fly fish. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll look forward to hearing from you guys in the next episode.